position and the lack of you having an LEP plan affects the interests of the Hispanic community. Ladies, introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Joanna Alvarez, and I'm the program manager for the Economic Development Program.
Hello, my name is Angelica Melendez, and I'm the Strong Families Program Manager.
Hi, my name is Kaemi Velez, and I am part of the Strong Families Program.
Ladies, today we would like to talk about things that affect the Hispanic community in terms of housing. Who would like to start us off to tell us about some of the issues or barriers that there are?
Okay, let me tell you a little bit more about the services that our programs provide for the immigrant and Latino community here at HICA. And some of those issues are related with housing. And we do a lot of family advocacy, and some of the issues that people come telling us and looking assistance and information and resources that are related with housing is the thing that usually they sign for a contract and they do not understand what they're signing. How you can tell the community about how the Fair Housing Act protect and related with that type of issues.
Okay, so it appears that one of the main problems is that the Hispanic community come to apply at apartments or for housing, and they're having to sign and read English documents, but they don't understand exactly what they're signing. They cannot read English and don't have a clear understanding. If a property is receiving HUD assistance, then they should make those papers and documents available in Spanish so that they can understand what they're reading. If, for instance, there's a document that HUD has that's not already translated on their website in Spanish, then HUD says that they need an interpreter. And the interpreter could be a member of a household who speaks English, or perhaps you guys employ an interpreter here. But it's very important from a fair housing standpoint that people understand the documents that they're signing.
An important thing that I would like to clarify, a lot of people think that because we are provide services for Hispanic and we are bilingual advocates, we are interpreters and we can do translation and interpretation. And the fact is that HICA has an important advocacy part of the work that we do, and we tell people that come in to get services in our organization about their rights. The right to get a proper interpreter, the right that they need to get those documents translated. And we encourage people to tell agencies like how the HUD and for them to request those documents in their own language, and not only in Spanish, but it's important that those documents are translated in other languages, because there's a lot of immigrant community from other countries that they might not be able to communicate not only in Spanish but in other languages as well.
That is true. HUD has most of the resident documents out there in Chinese, Japanese, German. There's a list, and all you have to do to get one of these documents is to go to the HUD website and download it. The forms are translated already in different languages, and I think there are 22 that are out there, 22 different languages. The only thing that HUD does require, however, is that if they sign a lease, the lease must be signed, the English lease must be signed. The lease that they read can be in German, Japanese, or Spanish, so that they'll understand what they're signing. But the document that goes in the file needs to be in English. And it's not the applicant or the resident's responsibility to supply the interpreter, even though if they have a child or someone in their household that they would like to do that for them, they can. It's up to management to bring in an interpreter or someone to translate on their behalf. That's the challenge that HUD gave them. They have to conduct a 4-factor analysis, HUD says, to be a part of the LEP program. They have to develop a language access program, which is called a LAP, and they have to provide adequate language assistance. So that's on all of the people that are in assisted housing. Tell me some of the other issues that you're having because of the lack of communication.
Well, certainly maintenance issues.
Okay.
We've had a lot of people come into our office saying that they have placed work orders. We don't know which way they have placed these orders. They might have called and maybe they didn't understand them.
Okay.
We have had people come to us saying that they have referred to them as troublemakers because they are not understanding what they're asking for. And sometimes it has to do with basic maintenance issues. And one man, it was like he just couldn't cook in his stove. Like he needed to get a new stove, and management was not responding, even though they do provide the appliances for the apartments. And I think that same man was complaining that his parking space had a big hole, like he could not park there. And then he would address the issue, they would ignore it, he would park in a different place, and he would be asked to move his car immediately. When we have this type of situations, maybe a HUD complaint is not going to be like the fastest access for this person. Some of them have been threatened with eviction, and we have to maybe refer to attorneys. So what can we do to assist in these situations?
Well, you're the advocacy group for your community. And the first thing I would suggest is to contact the manager, because your English and your interpretation of what's going on is a lot clearer. I would imagine that if I could not express my thoughts to someone that I've been trying to express it to over and over and over again, that I become a little frustrated. But since you know the issues and you're able to communicate, maybe on behalf of that particular individual, you could call the manager and say, we need to understand what's going on so that we can explain it to your resident. Document that's just been released by HUD, and it is in Spanish and several other languages. I'll make sure that I send you guys a copy so that you can forward it on to your residents. But residents do have rights, and it's important for us as management agents and owners of property to make sure that those rights are respected and that we follow through on work orders in a timely manner, because we're going to Navigator's running a session next month on residents' rights and responsibilities.
And I think I can give you another example in people that wanted to buy a house. This person wanted to buy a specific house, and she went to the realtor, they're selling the property, and asked for the information about the house, and the realtor doesn't want to give. And she said probably this house is not the fit for her, and she can go and look at it in different neighborhoods. So this is something that is not okay, because we wanted to decide where to live and where to be. So
you are right, that's not okay. It's called steering, and it's against the fair housing laws. The person has the right to choose where they want to live if they qualify to live there. That's the thing, they qualify to live there. So if there's $1 million house and I happen to be Japanese and I want to live in this house, if I can afford the house, then it's my right to purchase it. So you are correct. And there are agencies that are fair housing advocates, like you're advocates for the Hispanic community, that you can call or refer them to, and we will make sure that we get you those numbers. One of the reasons that we're having this session today is because it's the 50th anniversary of fair housing. And fair housing is the law. It's the right for people to not be discriminated against based on their race, their color, their national origin, their religion, their disability, or familial status. So the residents have rights. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
And I have a question for you, Ms. Vicky. Can you please tell the community what's the process to do a complaint through HUD?
The process to do a complaint through HUD. There is a fair housing poster that should be hanging or should be hung in the manager's office. At the bottom of that poster is a number. It says that if you have a complaint or if you feel like your rights have been violated, contact this number. I will make sure that you guys get a poster too. I thought I bought one the last time that I came, but it's on the poster. And I see that you have some cards. Would somebody like to explain those cards to us?
Yes, this is some of the HUD
Literature?
campaign that we
Mhm.
did. It's in Spanish and English.
Mhm.
It's about the equity and fair housing rights, and they have the number in English and Spanish. And if you wanted to do call HUD directly. Mhm.
And I would advise anyone to call HUD directly. Or as I say, there's a group in Birmingham that's called the Northern Alabama Fair Housing Group. And they're like the advocacy group for this area. They could call them. Anyone could make the complaint. You can make the complaint as a HICA can, as a advocacy group for the Hispanic community. If it's not brought to the forefront, no one knows about it. And we have viewers from all of the states in the United States. So in your area, find out the Hispanic advocacy group and contact them. See what type of resources they can be to you. They could be a resource for maybe translation, a resource for perhaps talking to residents and getting the residents and the managers on the same page to understand one another. And they could be an advocacy group for filing fair housing complaints.
Our commitment is to empower families to be their own advocates with the proper information and like with the proper education material. So basically, we have those leaders cards here in our offices and where people can get it in their language, because the thing is, if there's a poster in the management office and it's in English, that
They
is
might
not
not
for
understand
everybody.
it.
So it's important for us to have these type of materials in the language of the community that we serve, so they can understand what resources are available for them.
And that's a very good point that you bring. If you know, I'm talking to the managers out there now, if you know your community, if you know that your community is 50% Poland, 25% Hispanic, and 25% American, then you should have a poster with all three of those on it in your office, not just the English-speaking poster. And that is a challenge that the HUD testers go around to see. Now, I was up in Maryland about a month or so ago in February, and I went into a community thinking that it was going to be all U.S. citizens, but when I got there, half of the population, over half of the population, were Hispanic, and I don't speak Spanish. They say my tongue doesn't roll. I can't get it to do right. However, we hired a translator from the local school to come in and translate for us. So your resources are great. You just have to tap into your resources. You all might know someone that wants to make some extra income, that are on speed dial for some of the management companies. They speak excellent English, and Hispanic is their native, Spanish is their native language, so they might want to do quote unquote translating for some companies. And my point being that as a manager, you need to seek the resources. The resources aren't supposed to seek you. You're supposed to seek the resources. Well, ladies, do you have any other comments? Anything else you'd like to share?
I just want to make sure, a Spanish maybe contract?
Yes.
Do they get to keep that?
Yes.
Okay, for the reference?
Yes.
Okay.
They get a copy of the one that they sign in English, and they get a copy of the Spanish one that they're to keep for their records, in case they need to refer, what does my lease say about this? What does my house rules say about this? It needs to be translated into their native language, whatever their native language is.
So that means that somebody can put a hold in that agreement until the management company or office provide them with a translator copy of the.
What that means is
Not
they should
necessary.
not sign anything they don't understand.
That's what.
That's what that means. And if they go to get an apartment and they fill out the application, the manager calls them back and say, you're ready, I have the apartment for you, and they get ready to sign the documents and they don't understand it, do not sign it. Ask the manager if they could translate this or give you a copy in the language in which you speak, in your native language.
The most of
They
the
should
cases
not
is that-
lose their
okay.
space in line. They should not lose the apartment. If they do, it's a violation of the fair housing law. They need to call the local fair housing office or call you guys and you call the fair housing office. And if we can be of any assistance and navigate, call us and we'll try to help mitigate the situation.
Is there a specific number that you would like for the community here in Birmingham to call for that type of complaint? A specific number?
The specific number would be the number that you have for HUD.
The
And
helpline.
the helpline. And I will get you the local advocacy group's number, and I will give you our number. Now, because our viewers are in other states other than Alabama, this is an issue we're having here in Alabama. But I bet good money that you're having the same issue in whatever city or state you're in. So in your city or state, there's a local HUD office number to call. The hotline number is a national number, but there's a local advocacy group in your area that they could call, and or you could always call Navigate. We're always willing to help.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
that's
very
awesome.
much.
Thank you for the information.
Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us. And what I'm going to do with our group here, I'm going to do a follow-up of questions and things, and we can do a segment a little later on different questions. If you all are running into issues or questions that you feel might be answered by us, email them to me. Thank you, and we appreciate you watching our Tuesday tip for the day. I'd like to thank our panel. Ladies, you were great, and we appreciate the information that you've shared.
And thank you for coming here.
Thank you.